Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about trust. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, what is the minimum amount of time needed in order to gain trust within a team? Well, humans don't really work that way. Trust is something that you earn in many ways, but it depends on, usually I find, a few factors. The main ones are that you seem to be genuine, or people feel like they sort of understand you, or feel like having you around is like a overall pleasant experience. It's they have no cause for disliking you or something like that. The second thing is that you show competence and efficiency in what you do to like whatever subjective emotions that you're dealing with, because that is what trust comes down to, subjective emotions for a lot of people. And then usually the last thing is that you touched on time, like how long do you have to sustain that over time. And the time factor is pretty much it's difficult to say. So I don't really know how to tell you, there's no way for you to have a time frame. What I can tell you is that it really is that easy. Most people, if they spend time with each other, like over an extended period of time, you will build these things organically if you have the two first things. In other words, be genuine, like a nice and overall pleasant person to be around, and do well. Like, don't have no issues or things like that isn't something that you can overcome or so forth. And then that's really down to it. So when you join a software team, it's, I mean, on average, I can tell you that most, in terms of how long people think about a hire being part of a company before you can sort of get a feel for if they're going to be a good fit or not, is measured in around between a few months up to about a year or something like that. That's pretty standard, but I wouldn't say that necessarily means that you have trust within the team, because the reality is that you can be incompetent, or you can be in a team with people who are incompetent, and then you can't build that trust with them, or you can be with people who are indifferent, or like etc. There are so many factors, guys, to this, and so it's very difficult. And I think that you should think more about the first two I was talking about, and honing those skills within yourself, and then leaving the whether or not you get trust thing on up to whoever is making that assessment of you. Because what is the saying? What other people think of you is not your business. And in this regard, I think that this makes a lot of sense. The reason being, very simply, that this question sort of indicates that you have lower self-esteem, or you have a need to be a people pleaser, or something similar, where your perception is that you want to gain trust within the team, which leads me to believe that you are a junior software developer, or fairly insecure in some way. But the reality is that if you have the other first two things I talked, like the social aspects and being trustworthy, so the social aspects and having the skills and like being able to deliver, it doesn't really matter whether or not your team trusts you or not, because the team can only function as well as the people that make up that team. And even if you are the most wonderful person and the most skilled software developer, you might be in a team where it doesn't matter really if you are, because the people around you are never going to trust you, or like there's going to be a poisonous attitude or like a poisonous environment and so forth. It's the same thing I see over and over, guys, when you join different teams, where something that is given and obvious to a lot of people, with everything from collaboration to product focus or like quality focus, etc., etc., might not be true even like just one hallway down to another team, because in that team they have people who either they don't give a shit or they don't really know what they're doing, etc., etc. There's all kinds of factors that play into this. So if you focus instead on doing the first two, having the soft skills and the social skills to be a pleasant time to be around, and building up the skills that you're really, really good at what you do, that is the best thing that you can do to make this situation into the best situation that it can be. But you also have to understand that there are limits to what you can do as an individual, because the trust thing is built between two people, and there is really very little you can do if you don't have a counterpart who's going to help you sort of build that trust to begin with. And I mean, you can turn it around and say, how do other people make you feel like that you can trust them? There you have some ideas as well of what you can do in order to build up this sort of relationship. But at the very least, if you have the first two, you are basically guaranteed that even if this specific team that you're dealing with, you can't really have like a nice, trustworthy, collaborative environment, it doesn't. If it matters to you, you have the option of walking away and going somewhere else, because there's never not a need for someone who has soft skills and is competent in what they do. But even if you decided to stay, the company is if you're in this sort of environment, and I'm sorry to say that I've been in these environments, guys, where there is no trust, there's no collaboration. Like the developers, they don't work together. They just don't actually care about each other. They are working as islands, all of them, and they still have the job because they have the first two. As I said, they're not a problem in a social area, and they have the skills to actually produce and ship code, etc., etc. Because at the heart and soul of everything, that is the thing that matters most at the end of the day to the company, the results of what you do. So what I want you to take away from this is that you can't really think in terms of minimum time to gain trust within a team. You can figure that most companies think about in terms of 6 months to a year-ish, something like that, to evaluate if a person is good or bad or so forth and so forth. But the reality is that it can be much faster or take much longer than that. But that's the sort of time frames that I've seen usually, at the very least. But I also say to you that it's not so important how long you are in a team per se. What is important are but the important parts are that you have the soft skills to fit into the environment, and you have the skills, like the technical skills, you consistently are able to meet the requirements of whatever you're supposed to be doing, because that means that people can rely on you, and being reliable is more important than having the trust of the team, because the trust that comes from being reliable. Like if you can consistently ship code, if you're not fucking up every 5 minutes or so forth, if they feel like you're gonna do a good job or a decent job or something like that, then that's more than enough. And then everything else really comes down to personal chemistry between you and the others, and the more time you spend with each other. But the reality is, guys, that you have to sort of understand that some people work in IT not because they're maybe the best people at what they do, or the most tech hungry, or there's a lot of people, guys, who don't give two shits about how well the team is really functioning and so forth, because they're fine with just going in the morning, taking their cup of coffee. They don't really want to talk with anybody. They just want to take their story and start working on that story, ship and do their hours, go home, repeat. And so in an environment like that, it's difficult to build up more meaningful relationships. But at the very least, if you have the social skills and the dependability, you're going to keep your job, and you're going to be applicable to work in any other team where it might be easier for you to create this trust between yourself and the rest of the team. Have a great day.